Parag Satsangi for coming on the Healthy Indian podcast today. We really appreciate you for coming on and also for being our guest on the show. So one thing I want to talk about today is what you do, what you're inspired to be, and a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So, my name is Parag Satsangi. I'm the founder and CEO of HealthFitness. It's a holistic, data-driven fitness company tailored to help people lose weight, but basically packaging all of the different data parts together. So, the exercise, nutrition, sleep, hydration, and making sense of that. Right now, I find the fitness market's very fragmented based on different companies focusing on isolated parts of the equation. And so we package all that together. We give you the blueprint, hold you accountable along the way to help you
Awesome.
get your goals.
Awesome. And how did, with Helm Fitness, your company, can you tell us a little bit about it? What do you guys do? And how do you guys differentiate from other fitness brands?
Yeah, absolutely. So we start out by doing kind of a very in-depth, interview almost of understanding exactly where you are today, where you want to be, what are your current habits, how much you work out, what your eating habits are,
Wow.
dietary preferences, access to gyms and whatnot. From there, we create a workout plan for you, a nutritional guideline in terms of how many calories and carbs, fats, and proteins that you should be hitting. We give you a meal plan, and then we have weekly calls with our clients to hold them accountable. I'm regularly texting them to make sure that they're logging their food, to make sure that they are
Wow.
completing their exercises. It's the way that I like to think about it is like when you have personal trainers or workout classes, you have accountability when you're in the gym. We're the accountability for you outside the gym to make sure that you get your goals.
No, and that's really interesting too, because I think having that one-on-one relationship with your clients is very important. Because for me personally, I feel like I don't grow in the gym when I'm not pushed to failure, and I think that's one of those things where when I'm pushed to the brink of fatigue, I feel like I need definitely my coaches and my mentors to really push me to the next level, so I finally see muscle growth and muscle synthesis. So I think it's a very good thing that what you're doing, and I think maybe you could show us a demo the next time you're on, because it'd be really helpful to see. So
Definitely. Yeah, I have this whole dashboard built out, and everything's
sick.
color coded and conditionally formatted, and
Okay.
on that dashboard you can see what you did right in the past week, what you did wrong in the past week. So it allows us to drill down and focus on what the problem areas are, so that the upcoming week we can work on improving that.
And how did you, I guess, create your company? What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so I got married this past June, and as I'm sure most brides and grooms feel, your
Yeah.
wedding day is when you want to look and feel your absolute best.
Yeah.
And as I was navigating that journey, I was trying to trim down, build some muscle. I was going to workout classes and whatnot, but then the nutrition side of things were slacking. And so I realized that all of these pieces need to talk to each other, and no one out there has been able to solve for that. And so I decided to just build it myself. And I did it, tested it on myself. It went well. And then since my wedding, I thought, hey, let's try this on a couple of friends, see if there's something here. And they've seen great results. I've got a friend who's down almost 30 pounds right now
Wow.
since mid August. So seeing good results, and then now I'm starting to take on paid clients.
No, that's a freaking achievement, man. I mean, having someone lose that much significant amount of weight is you're literally changing his life, and having that life altering experience, they're always going to be really appreciative towards you, aside from the money,
Hmm.
the wealth, the business. I think it's
Hmm.
such a humbling feeling. And that's
Hmm.
why I do this podcast too, for, you know, giving a good impact. Because when I hear that, I feel like, okay, I'm doing something great with my time. And it's not
Hmm.
something that's just going to wither away. It's going to be my legacy, right? You're going to be remembered for Helm Fitness. So I think
Yeah.
that's an awesome thing. What makes Helm so successful with clients? Is it just the way you kind of broke down, I guess, your structure for your company? What is the blueprint behind it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I did was I found every single drop off point across the spectrum of losing weight. Like where do things go wrong? Like, which is motivation to like go to the gym, making sure that you're, eating consistently and healthy every day, and making sure you're getting enough sleep. And I
Right.
figured out where are the areas that people fall off on, and I basically built that dashboard according to that and say, hey, now we're able to like highlight it. So when you see something that's consistently in the red, you know that that's a problem area. And by the reason why we pair a human coach with you is so that you actually have someone there holding you accountable. At the end of the day, like all the information is out there in terms of what you need to do to lose weight. We all know we need to eat less, move more, and get good sleep. But then how is like over 70% of this country still, overweight or obese?
Obese,
You
yeah.
know, and a lot of that is just because like they just need accountability and guidance, and to kind of clear out the noise. There's so much confusing information out there. You've got keto, you've got paleo, you've got Whole30. It's like it's so overwhelming. Like, what do you do? And that's where, like, as a coach, we come in, we kind of narrow everything down, keep everything structured, focus, hold you accountable, and make sure that you get where you need to be.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long has this been company afloat? Like, when did you start this?
Yeah, I started it back in July of 2022, so it's been around for, I guess, 5 months now.
Okay, not too long ago.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I think with like your when you start something, it's more about the drive. Like I had this podcast for 2 years, not many people know, but it
Mm-hmm.
really blew up in the last 3 months when I started really trying and honing in on who I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be and what my message was. It just took me a
Yeah,
year and a half to cultivate it. So I think
yeah.
as you grow in the 5 months, you're gonna see as also a creator of a new fitness brand that you're gonna see that maybe there's certain things we can change versus certain things we
Mm-hmm.
want to keep the same, which is effective for the clients. Do you agree with
Mm-hmm.
that or?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say the reason why I wanted to test out Helm before even bringing it to market is to figure out what are the areas I need to improve on, in this program. What are things that have worked for clients and what are things that haven't? And one of the things that I found to be like very effective that I don't mean it in like
Yeah.
a scary way, but I found that like, clients have said, "Hey, because we have this weekly call with you, we know that we need to be on top on our A game because I have to talk to you on Wednesday." And so I think that was something that form of accountability has proven to be like pretty important. Just even the fact that they know that they have to talk to me on their next call. So things like that have started to help. And like the dashboard that I built, I didn't always have the dashboard. I was just kind of like reviewing and
Yeah.
digesting the data and spitting it back to them. But now I've made it in a way where it's visual to them. And what I want is to empower the client to say, okay, this is what I'm doing well. This is what I'm not doing well. Now it kind of makes it easier to start focusing on those problem areas.
And like that's really interesting. But even with technology sometimes, like people have a tendency to get demotivated. The
Mm-hmm.
and especially New Year's coming around right now, Christmas coming along,
Mm-hmm.
holidays. And there's those clients that will persevere, and then there's clients that need more motivation. How do you prioritize the ones that definitely need more of a fitness boost, more of a like coaching? Because you can't just coach someone all the time and expect them to be motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, man, I'm not gaining any weight. I don't see the
Mm-hmm.
number on the scale going. Maybe I'm eating too many jalebis on Diwali night. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you get the gist of it, right? Like motivation it has to be consistent. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you guys like kind of navigate through those kinds of clients? Because I mean, I would love to know if I was a person coming into your fitness and your gym, how do I stay motivated versus somewhere else? So
That's a really good question. And so there's a couple of components to that, which is one, kind of going back to
sure,
excuse me, going back to
no
that
worries.
dashboard that I talked about. The reason why I built that dashboard is so that the client is now empowered to say, wait, this variable is actually in my control. And because says like, okay, like all my entire dashboard is lighting up green, but like my sleep number is in the red. If I just fix that, it's going to make a massive impact. So it's very empowering to the client to see
Right.
why they're not seeing results. It's one thing if a client is doing everything right and they're not seeing results, but rarely is that actually the case, right? If you do actually just do the right things, you will genuinely see results. So that's one component of it. The other motivation is to say, hey, like, why are you doing this, right? Like, what is the end goal here? And some of it could be like, hey, look, like I've visited my doctor and I'm getting like, you know, dangerously close to potentially getting diabetes down the line. I have a history of that in my family. Or it could be like, I just want to feel more confident in my body when I like go to the beach with my friends over the weekends. I'm getting married in six
Yeah,
months. Like I want to look good.
yeah.
Like whatever that
Sure.
is, just reminding the client like what they're in this for. And just kind of making sure that they always remember what their intrinsic reason for wanting to do this, and that, hey, here's a blueprint here. Like you follow this blueprint, you will get to the promised land.
No, and it's really helpful to see that, man, because I'll tell you, there's like so much online that is like fake news, and there's people
Mm-hmm.
like, they're a little harsher, like Andrew Tate and like Jake Paul and all these like
Mm-hmm.
fitness people, and they're like, oh, stop being fat and doing that. And I think not everyone is cut out from the same cloth, and people have thick
Yeah.
skin. Some people don't have thick skin, but everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to lose weight. And I feel like you connecting with their client and showing them
Mm-hmm.
this dashboard, and I'm sure it's a great dashboard, but like
Yeah.
it will really help them and empower them to see that, hey, like this is the trajectory I'm going. And for me, I'm very similar. I'm a numbers guy. I love my macros in and out. And I know for me it works, and fasting works as well. So I try to implement that in my diet. Is there some kind of advice you would give to the young audience that are starting out on their fitness journey? How to get started on something like home fitness if they want to start their own brand? I think that'd be really cool, just to know about your journey and how you kind of took approach to it, right? Starting
Mm-hmm.
literally nothing to something, right? Even wearing
Yeah.
the name on your shirt, and that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So one thing is like really doing your research and understanding the science behind like why you're pushing what you're pushing is going to be really important. So for example, like, and maybe this is just me personally, I'm not a big fan of like the keto diet. And I don't mean to just like,
right,
target them, but the reason why I'm not a big fan of diets like keto and things like that are, the question you have to ask yourself is this something you can do for the rest of your life? Because the reality is keto, yes, you will shed lots of pounds really quickly, but the second you stop doing keto, you are going to gain that weight back. And the question is like, do you want this for short term or do you want to do something for the long term? And if you want to do something for the long term, what is something that you can sustain that's realistic? You've got to be pragmatic about the way that you live your life. Like you're not going to like stop going to friends' weddings. You're going to have work happy hours. There's going to be times where, in your social life, you're going to drink alcohol. Like you got to recognize that. Knowing some of those things, how do we build around that? Make sure that you're still generally trajecting towards being healthier. And so I think just doing your research, understanding the science, and pairing that with just like a very pragmatic approach to how how life actually is going to be really important. And kind of the last piece is, I've worked with other coaches before that I felt like treated life as if it was in a vacuum, and
right.
that you have no social life, you never eat out, and you've got to cook these three things every single day. And the reason why those programs, yeah, sure, if you follow that 100%, you are going to lose weight. Is that actually sustainable in the long run? Not so much. And so that's
Not so
where
much.
I like to allow flexibility in the program to say, hey, you don't have to cook every single meal. You don't have to never drink alcohol ever again. But let's make sure that all the variables all talk to each other so that if you do eat a little bit more, make sure you work out a little bit more to offset that. So that you can then be more in control of your journey.
I guess, what are the common mistakes people make in their fitness journey, you would say, like when it comes to that, right? Because like you said, there's so many variables, but it's easy to make mistakes, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to relapse and have like a week of binging, like drinking and eating, and
Mm-hmm.
especially like with all the holidays and even not holidays, right? Weddings. Perfect
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
example. You got married
Yeah.
and you just
Yeah.
saw people scarfing down all the good food. How the heck are
Yeah.
you supposed to say no to that,
Yeah. No, that's a good question. The thing is, um, sorry, I'm blanking right now.
No, no,
I
no,
we're
no
gonna
worries. This is
we
candid.
might have to edit this part. Can you remind me the question again?
Oh yeah, like so what are common mistakes people make in their fitness journey?
Hmm.
Especially given like Indian events or events in general, life events.
Yeah, I think the common mistakes are thinking that you can lose like 30 pounds in like 3 weeks. You know, having these unrealistic expectations. Like you have to remember, it took many, many years for your body to gain this weight. You can't expect to lose it all in such a
Right.
short amount
Of
of time,
course.
and nor is that necessarily healthy for you. So that's common mistake number one. Common mistake number two is kind of a piggybacking off of that, which is when you do deprive yourself of something for such a long time, if you're like starving yourself or you are like completely removing carbs, the second you reintroduce that, human nature is going to be to overindulge on that. And so that's why the biggest mistake that people make is not finding a balanced, structured approach towards fitness and weight loss and going through different extremes. Just because they've seen like in Hollywood, someone did keto and lost like 30 pounds in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And it is a struggle. I mean, I think it's easy to lose weight, but it's hard to sustain it. And I think it's one of those things where, like, when it comes to making mistakes, you just need to kind of, you know, be able to balance something, but you also have to be mindful of how much you intake and how much you
Mm-hmm.
really consume. Because, like, when you have carbs and if you're carb depleted for like a week or so, carbs taste 10 times good. It's almost like an addiction of like a
Mm-hmm.
rat having a cocaine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's insane to me how, people go on these like fad diets and then they're just like not able to sustain, right? And then they're, if anything, they're like twice as heavier as they were before.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where like I'm always perplexed, but it's interesting to see that you're taking the well-balanced diet approach rather than having your clients and especially your customers kind of fall into just like a very starvation mode diet or keto diet. That type of stuff is a little complicated. Not to shit on the keto people, but I think it should be
Mm-hmm.
said because not like for keto, other people could do it, great, you're getting the results, but the vast majority of people can't. And I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest. I think if I'm not correct, that's who you're trying to target, right? Like people who struggle to keep like a diet based on one preference. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Exactly. Yep.
and what would you say is like why does someone need a coach if they can find the info online? Like, what is the benefit of that?
Yeah, and look, it comes down to the same reason why, like,
Same reason.
why does anyone sign up to go work out at Orange Theory or Barry's or anything like that, right? You could go find those workouts yourself online and go do them. The the reality is that you do need someone in there pushing you, holding you accountable, and there are people, of course, who are very much capable of doing this themselves. What I find, and it's actually one of the interesting things about the fitness industry, is by putting like that kind of commitment into that journey, by saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to rope this person into my fitness journey, you now have an elevated sense of like, I need to get this done because there's somebody that's like like really like holding me accountable and banking on me to do the right things to get to where I need to be. So it gives you an extra sense of like, okay, like I need to do this. Versus when you're kind of doing it by yourself, you always kick the tire on it. Let me start on Monday. I'll start next week. Oh, I've got this party coming. I'll do it the next day. But as soon as you make that commitment to yourself, to like, you know what, I'm going to sign up for Helm Fitness or any other type of coach. What you're telling yourself is this is serious and this starts now.
Right. It's not a change that you're going to do over a course of a day. It's a change you're going to do over a course
Hmm.
of a lifetime. Maybe
Yeah.
implement in your lifestyle, even if you quit the home fitness or any other fitness industry. The idea is for like the customer or the client to leave with that sustainable diet approach rather than the other diets that are like, quick results, but not long-term output. So, that
Hmm.
being said, how would you say like if a coach is not the best suitable for one person, do you guys rotate coaches so that way can fit someone else's like agenda in the sense of because some coaches believe in lifting, some coaches believe in stretching, some coaches believe in, and there's so many variations. But how do
Hmm.
you differentiate a coach that is the most optimal for your client?
It's a good question. I would say that the answer to that is less about the methodology in terms of like
Yeah,
prioritizing lifting. And I'd say it's more about like the personality mix, right? Like what type
correct.
of motivation does the client need? Does somebody
Hmm.
want someone that's going to play hardball with them and say like, hey, like what you need to do X, Y, and Z, or do they need someone that's a little bit more compassionate, understanding, and help educate along the way. And so I think it's more about the personality compatibility than it is about the actual methodology, because, as a program, we try to keep the methodology pretty sound and structured. And it's just more about managing the different personalities of the clients.
Okay, so personality is like the right way of approaching that, and that's really good. I really like that because honestly, you can't always go by like fitness regimes. It has to be like the connection and the emotional, feedback. Like, hey, I did this today. I slept 8 hours. I ate well,
Yeah.
and like the coach has to follow up and they have to mesh. So I agree with that. How does your program help with the mental health side of things? I really like this question because, as you know, we're a mental health podcast and fitness. So
Mhm.
how does it help mentally? Because challenges are always there, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I'm sure there's a lot of science behind the benefits, the mental health benefits of like hitting the gym, right? Of eating, like putting like good nutrients in your body. And one of the most rewarding points of feedback I've gotten from my clients to date is that they feel more energy and they feel more mental clarity. And it's allowing them to do better on their jobs, have a more fulfilling social life, have better relationships with their friends and
yeah, bro.
family, and just like I said, more energy throughout the day. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so it's kind of like the health triangle of like mental, emotional, and physical, right? Like you're really optimizing your physical, it helps elevate your mental, it helps elevate your emotional.
Yeah, because there's so many times where mentally I'm like in a good space, but one of those off days, you're just like, boy, I kind of need someone to motivate me. And right now I'm doing F45 functional fitness, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm really into hit workouts, and I've known like for me personally, it's been a big effect. And my diet I just do intermittent fasting, but to give you some
Mm-hmm.
insight, I think having the coach kind of tell me like, oh, go a little bit further, do more reps. I know you can do this. I know you can bang out this thing. You literally did this weight last week.
Mm-hmm.
Those things really shape my mental health in a sense because I went in thinking I was not as confident. And then
Mm-hmm.
every week I noticed my confidence just skyrocketing because of
Yeah.
just the push. And I find like anger towards like my workouts. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
you, but yeah, I get
No.
angry and, but not at anyone particular, just like at my
Yeah.
drive. And I think that's,
Yep.
that's great, bro. So
It's also just cool to see your progress, right? You're like pushing
yeah,
your own personal limits. And that's I think that's the other value of having a coach, kind of to answer your previous question, is that it's not just like, hey, here's a blueprint, we're holding you
yeah.
accountable, but it's like, hey, you thought you were only capable of doing this. The coach is going to help you realize you're capable of doing this. And that's and like you said in your F45 workout, like that's that impacts you mentally in a positive way, right? You're getting more confidence. Like I never thought I could lift this much weight before. So
Right,
it's
right.
super cool.
And especially the high intensity for me because I'm just trying to like get to a certain weight and build muscle, but it's one of those things where like I love high intensity, so it's like a
Hmm.
perfect match for me as of now. I've always loved it, and I've tried so many variations. I've tried CrossFit, I've tried dieting, I've tried yoga, and I still
Hmm.
implement those like snatches and stuff into my life. I try to implement all the good and all these different fitness regimes and implement it.
Hmm.
So maybe you could do that too with home fitness, where it doesn't have
Hmm.
to be a niche market of just lifting or stuff. There's so many ways you can change, and I think
Hmm.
it'll bring more audience in for you guys. So I think it'd be a great idea. Um,
For sure.
what's your most favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs? Like, how do you prioritize productivity when it comes to just, owning a home fitness and kind of being inspired to like, put in work every day?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a tough one to navigate, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, you're getting pulled in all these different directions. You've got all these different initiatives on your mind. And one of the things that I've learned, I was, an entrepreneur previously as well. And in that one, I think I bit more than I could chew. And so, one of the things I'm starting to do is start focusing on like, what's the next step? Like I have my end goal in mind, but I'm actually focused on the day by day. Like what can I do today that's going to help me do better tomorrow, do better the next day. And slowing that down has actually helped me, ironically, move faster in this business. Because when you're overwhelmed
Yeah.
with, like, oh my God, I need to hit this grandiose vision, and you've got like 50 different things, you end up having, paralysis by analysis, or analysis by paralysis, whichever
Analysis
one
by
it is.
process. Yeah.
Yeah, you end up having that, and then you end up doing nothing, right? So it's like, if I focus on like, what are like 2 or 3 things I can do today that are going to move the ball forward, and I've started being at a stage now at Helm where it's like, every action that I do needs to really move the needle forward. Like, I'm no longer sweating the small details anymore. I'm now like, what are the things that can move the business forward? What are the things that can move the product forward? What are the things that can move clients forward? Things that are going to make a material impact on the business, on the clients, and so forth.
That's wonderful, man, because productivity is one of those things that will burn you out. If you're too
Yeah.
productive, it'll burn you out. If you're less productive, you don't get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
think having a good like balance is really good. And even for me with podcast episodes, there was a time where I used to post 4 episodes a day and I was burned out, destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Yeah.
I took a back, like, a picture from the back eye view. And then I was just like, let me just post once a week, and it's doing great. And I'm actually building a lot more backlog and audience and just amazing guests I bring on. It's like so surreal. So I think, I think
Definitely.
it's a good knowledge nugget that you dropped, that like, just balance your productivity out and take it one step at a time rather than,
Mm-hmm.
shoot for the stars like today, so I think that's
Exactly.
awesome.
Yep.
What do you think the fitness industry will be in the next 5 years? Do you think it's going to be like changing? Because there's so many, what's the word? I don't want to lose my train of thought, but there's so many businesses that are coming out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like Rockbox, F45, indoor mom and pop gyms, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how do you where do you see everyone kind of going with fitness?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, look, there's a couple of trends that are happening, which is, there's so much noise out there right now, right? Like, there's like 100 different workout studios to choose from. There's 50 different diets out there. There's all different types of stuff. One of the trends that I've been keeping an eye on is like the smartwear like industry. Obviously, a lot of people now have Apple Watches and Fitbits. I think they're remarkable products, to begin with. I think they're only going to get better. And like,
Right.
I not
Very
only wear an
helpful.
Apple Watch like every minute of the day, like even at my own Sangeet at my wedding, like, I refused to wear an actual watch because I wanted to wear my Apple Watch, because I still wanted my step count even at my own Sangeet. Um,
That's
but
funny.
I,
That's funny.
but I think like that is a really interesting trend. I also have an Aura ring that I wear to sleep every night, and the sleep data that I get out of it is phenomenal. It is like, it tells me exactly when I fell asleep, when I woke up, like the deep sleep, the REM sleep. And so I've just become obsessed with the data side of things. And I think that's only going to get better and better. And the reason why I think the timing of Helm becoming a business is really interesting, is because now we have this really interesting smart hardware. Now there's the job of Helm, is to, how do we package that information, give you a coach to hold you accountable, and then now data plus a coach, like, I think results are going to come.
And I have a good question right now. What's an insult you received that you're most proud of? Almost like proving the haters wrong, per se. Because there's sometimes like I got called fat all the time and I
Mm-hmm.
lost so
Yeah.
much weight. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that insult was the best insult anyone could give me, because it was a fuel to the drive to lose weight. And honestly, like, that's what motivated me to cause a big shift in my life. Not that I was just thinking about haters, but I know I could do better. I know I'm better.
Mm-hmm.
But what's insult that almost like drives you? Because it's everyone has those, right?
Yeah, you know what? I can probably name countless times in my life that people have commented on my weight, and I think each of those times just like fuels me more and more. And so, like, to come out of that and then start a fitness company out of it is like
It's freaking
super
inspiring.
cool, because, right, like, and the other thing is, like, I feel like a lot of fitness companies are started by people who've been fit their entire lives. Like, I have not been. Like, I've been through all that
Right.
struggle.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint one particular insult, I'd say. But I will say that, like, now that I've started a fitness company, like, the pressure's on to make sure that I stay fit too.
Yeah, it's true. Because as the CEOs, you
Yeah.
see all these fitness people, they're all super fit. I'm like, damn, what are they doing? Roids? No, probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I guess, do you get family support from all this fitness stuff? Because it's unique, right? You don't see too many Indian people opening up like these kinds of fitness centers and stuff. So, do you get like family support and stuff like that too?
Yeah, definitely. So, look, my brother and sister-in-law are both doctors, so I've had like
Sick.
countless conversations with them, just from their perspective. My parents are very supportive on it as well. My wife is incredibly supportive. She's been like very much like she's my accountability coach. She's the one who's like, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" Like so yeah, tons
It's your
of
life
tons of
coach.
support around that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's not like fitness hasn't really hit like the South Asian community yet, and so I think there's a unique opportunity here to really like to spearhead that.
And I'm definitely interested in bringing it out and seeing where your journey goes. And I would love to help you out in any way because I'm a big advocate for fitness. I mean, I have two parents who are
Hmm.
diabetic, and I try to motivate them
Hmm.
every day. And fortunately, they're able to kind of bring their A1Cs down. So
Hmm.
it's good to see that, they're they can see the good side of fitness. But from our parents' standpoint, from immigrants, they don't know anything about what that is. So I definitely think
Hmm.
even for your fitness, it won't be like young adults you're targeting. You're gonna be targeting older adults. So
Definitely, definitely. And I think there's like more education that needs to be done with like the older adults. Now the behavior change is a lot trickier with them because they're
yeah,
they're kind of they're kind of set in their ways in terms of what they eat, but
correct.
that's where I think the educational component comes into play. Just educating them on like the impacts of what they're putting in their bodies and how it's going to ultimately affect them.
Also, what does mental health mean to you? Do you also, I mean, I know I have mental health issues and struggles too, just like, imposter syndrome, and just sometimes there's those times in the day where I have like high highs and low lows. So do you have something similar, or, your own mental health story in a sense?
Yeah, I would say, look, fortunately, in my life, I've been a relatively pretty even keel, throughout
Nice.
my life. I would say since I've started Helm, though, it has become incredibly overwhelming, especially as like a solo
Wow.
founder. There are definitely times where I feel like I'm being pulled in multiple directions. Like I will have like the best meeting of my life, but then it'll be followed by like some form of a rejection later that day. And like in
Oh,
the
wow.
same day, I can have both the best and the worst day, and that gets tough. That gets tough to navigate. And so yeah, I mean, I'd say that like keeping regularly going to the gym helps me like, keep things in check. Because like you were saying, kind of like working out your anger, like it really does make a difference to go kind of just, pump some iron and blow off some steam. But yeah.
And this might be a weird, I guess, analogy to look at, but I look at it as like a high heart rate, a good aid to my mental health. Because I feel like the
Hmm.
higher my heart rate is, the better I'm gonna feel, and the better my day's gonna go. So I kind of like look at that when I'm at the gym. So
Yeah,
it really motivates me to be better. So, you know.
for sure, definitely.
Okay, cool. So I think so I have so many more questions for you, and I know I could deep dive in, but what is, if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would it be about? Would it be like fitness related, or your life, or you know?
It's a good question. Actually, and it's a good segue to the fact that I'm actually planning on launching a newsletter right after New Year's, and it's the kind of the that encapsulates it all is going to be like how to become the best version of yourself. So that doesn't necessarily just mean fitness. Fitness is going to be one component of it, but it includes other things like I have a segment that I wrote about like how something small, but when you're out at dinner with your friends, don't have your phone sitting on the table. Things like that just kind of indicate that you're not fully present with the other person. And so just a general like I think it'd probably be a book on just like all aspects of your life. How can you be the best version of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, as a partner, as a friend, as a
Right.
family member, in your career, and just helping you unlock your potential to be the best version of yourself.
I think that's such an interesting point you hit on, because being present is such a hard thing nowadays, considering all the social
Hmm.
media and stuff we have, and you see people's accolades and stuff on just different Instagram accounts and TikTok. So yeah, it is definitely hard to be more present, man. I mean, the
Mhm.
population's most I think they say like you can only have 8 seconds of attention now, like as a normal
Wow.
man. So we all have like super small attention spans,
Yeah.
and it's insane. It's insane to me. But that being said, what are your three best qualities that you want people to remember you for?
I think and these are not all necessarily even fitness related. I'd say that
Yeah,
like I think the number one quality I think is being inclusive. I'm very much like proactive with friends, with even acquaintances, to make sure that they feel included and not left out. So when it comes to like having parties, like I'll invite everyone. Like even if I have like my friend, like my core friend group, like I'm not like, hey, we have to do just us. Like if other people are free and available, like happy to include other people, make them feel included. Number two, kind of a similar note, is like I'll show up to everything. Like I'm going to be that friend that shows up to everything. Like
that's
unless I
awesome
have a
quality.
unless I have a prior commitment, like I will be there. Like I will be there for all your birthdays, your weddings, your bachelor parties, your
Hey, let's go.
smallest celebrations. Like unless I like to be present, and part of that is because my love language is quality time, and it is like disproportionately quality time.
Awesome.
So I like to return that as well. Um, and then I think the third thing that that I pride myself in is in, I guess, seemingly unconventional thinking, but in the context of like living your best life, like going out and having a good time is like one of the quotes that I was famous for in college was like, "Are you going to remember this night that you stayed in 10 years from now, or the night that you spontaneously came with me to, you know,
That's
I
awesome.
don't know, go to like this like basketball game, or go to anything. Like you're more likely to remember this night that we went out and did something than the night that you stayed
It's a
back in.
powerful
So
message. It's a powerful
yeah.
message too, and I think you living like life like that and seeing it from that lens, like present, it's a good coaching quality to have, honestly. Because I was
Hmm.
trying to think of this, like how, and as I asked that question, I was like, how does he does he think like he can be, like in a like his mindset towards coaching? And I think you hit the nail on the coffin, man. It's your quality time, your ability to engage
Hmm.
people, bring everyone together. And now
Hmm.
subliminally you might be implementing into your fitness, right? Helm fitness, and having
Hmm.
like a core group of people that will not only love fitness but will also stick together and unite. So I think it's going to be a
Hmm.
very um, good mind shift, especially when your company starts and it prospers. So
For sure, for sure. And the other thing is like one of the most rewarding parts of my job that I didn't even foresee was that clients just sometimes they just need to vent about like the struggles that they're having. They just need someone to talk to,
yeah,
like, oh, like I really wanted to eat healthy this week, but like my parents were in town, so I had to like, cook all these different meals, and we didn't end up eating healthy. But like just having someone to talk to, just like unloading that mental burden, I think has
right.
also been very helpful, which was not something that I had even foreseen, but it's been like a very positive consequence.
I feel like nowadays the world is very mixed. So we live in a world where it's not just black and white anymore. It's more so about
Hmm.
like the uniqueness and the versatile. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Diversity, I believe, I guess,
Yeah.
but diversity. So I think like you having that mindset's really gonna impact your coaching, and it's gonna show, right? Even if you wanted to show good or bad, it's gonna show. So at the end of the
Hmm.
day, live like you're living in the present, and move forward. So I appreciate it. Okay, cool. And what is your morning routine like? Do you also work out as well on a day to day, or is it like because you have a lot going on, right? You got married, you have
Hmm.
like a company, and stuff. So is your morning routine, how is it looking now?
Yeah, good question. I tend to be a more of a late afternoon, evening type of person
Sick.
when it comes to working out. I'm, this is maybe unpopular opinion. I'm not a morning person actually. So for me,
Oh
like
wow, okay.
working out in the mornings is tough for me because I'm more of a bit of a night owl. So my
Hey,
morning routine. I mean, I it's just displaced. It's like a few hours later than everybody else's. But I wake up, kind of eat breakfast, all the standard stuff, and then I just get to work. But yeah, I tend to do my workouts later in the day.
No, it's good to know because I feel like a lot of people they also are not morning people, man. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of versatile in the sense because some mornings I'm feeling it, but I actually the way I work out is kind of like I kind of just go with how I'm feeling that day. I just work out like
Hmm.
5 times a week for the last like 3 months, so I've been going
Yeah.
pretty hard. But in my own journey, I also feel like you gotta accumulate your life to your schedule. Because, like you
Hmm.
said, when you have a wife and when you have friends and stuff, you have so much going
Hmm.
on. And
Yeah.
not only that, but I have people in my life that are more fitness based and that want to work out, but then there's people like I know that won't ever work out. Like they're just not,
Yeah.
they just don't believe in it, or if they're more into other hobbies. So I try to tell them that, hey, let's go hiking, let's go yoga. Is there a way you
Yeah.
kind of tell people to like, hey, instead of working out, let's do this activity and see how they do? Because I think for me, the reason I'm here on earth is like to motivate people. So I want
Hmm.
their health to be optimal. I don't want just sit there, smoke, drink, I want to do
Yeah.
things that are going to make an impact and have an activity and have a real experience. So
Yeah, well, look, one simple thing is I live in New York City, and so I try to walk everywhere. Like I don't care if it's like 30
dude,
degrees
it's awesome.
outside, 20 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's under an hour, I will always be the one pitching for us to go walk there because I think hitting your steps, and then it's also like a cool way to like get to know the city even more. You kind of
Yeah.
walk through the neighborhoods and you see things, and so to answer your first question about like what do I do to help motivate others, we don't have access to as much hiking as in the
Yeah.
city naturally.
No, we
Obviously,
don't.
if we go do trips, then yeah, I always pitching hikes and more physical activity related activities. But within the city, I always propose walking. I think there's just so much benefits to it. You feel good by being outside. Of course, you hit your steps. Also, especially after eating a meal, walking is like one of the best things you can do to like manage blood sugar spikes. So, big fan of walking.
Also, the city's motivating. I feel like people are so dressed up, especially in the morning. You're like inspired. You see everything around, and you naturally feel like the need to be more productive. Whereas when you live in a more
Mm.
suburban area, it's harder. And I think it's basically the city's effect almost on you, right? So it's really
Yeah.
cool to see. So I think I've asked you everything I can. I think you killed it. So thank you. I have a few rapid fire questions if you want to answer them.
Let's
So.
do it.
All right, cool. Okay, cool. What's your favorite kind of coffee?
Ooh, I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee. Okay. What is your favorite activity physically, but not the gym?
Basketball.
Ball. Okay. Kobe fan right here. Um, what is a common myth about fitness?
Keto.
Keto. Okay. God, that's hilarious. And then who do you who have you looked up to when it comes to just motivation?
You know what? I was never like a huge Kobe fan growing up, but I've always admired his
So
like his mentality. You just can't beat. I've watched so many Kobe videos, his interviews, just the way that he approaches the game, the way that he approaches life. You can't beat that. And I also went to UNC, so you can't ignore Michael Jordan.
no, you
But
cannot.
but I was born in the '90s, so I got more exposure to Kobe, and Kobe's done way more interviews than Michael Jordan has, so it's been easier to watch his stuff. But I'd
Yeah,
put
and
up those two.
Chicago is a very interesting area too, because I was just there and I did just go to UNC recently. It's a nice school.
Mhm.
I like it. They're huge
Yeah,
on ball, so I always want to go to
yeah.
both games. So maybe in the future. Other than that, man, I think you killed it. So thank you for coming on. Really appreciate
Cool.
you,
No,
and
thanks so much for having me.
for sure, for sure. Is there anything, well, I guess just for like wrap up questions, is there anything you would want to give advice to the people when it comes to home fitness or just your brand in general? I think it'd be a powerful
Sure,
message.
sure. Look, I'll give kind of like the 30-second pitch on
Go.
why it makes sense to work with us.
Sure.
But we're focused on helping you, right? Our goal is to kind of handhold you through this entire process. We know it's noisy, we know it's messy, we know it's chaotic, we know you've probably tried a million things under the sun, but I promise you that we will keep everything very structured and data driven, and like visually, in a way that empowers you to know what areas to focus on. And we're going to help coach you through that, get you to where you need to be. And look, your success is our success. So, give us a try. Website is helmfitness.com. You can reach out to us there. And looking forward to hopefully connecting with you all.